Hello there, my name is Monica Burns, and welcome to today's bonus episode of the Easy EdTech podcast. If you're used to joining me on Tuesdays for new episodes, you are in for a treat. This is a special bonus episode of the podcast in partnership with Jotform. Just like on Tuesdays, these bonus episodes are designed to give you ideas you can try yourself, share with a colleague, or bookmark for later in the school year. If we mention something you'd like to check out, you'll find the link to it in the show notes. So don't forget to head to my website, easyedtechpodcast.com, for all of the links and resources from today's episode. This episode is part of a special bonus series presented by Jotform. Jotform is an all-in-one platform that helps educators simplify everyday tasks from collecting student information and managing permission slips to creating surveys, quizzes, approval workflows, and more. With easy-to-use, no-code tools and thousands of customizable templates, Jotform makes it simple to move paperwork online, automate routine processes, and keep information organized. Educators can save up to 50% on eligible Jotform plans. Visit jotform.com/education to learn more. And a quick note, this episode is part of a special bonus series. You can find the video version exclusively on Jotform's YouTube network. On today's episode, I'm chatting with Alper Donmez from the Jotform team about a topic that doesn't always get the attention it deserves, which is accessibility in digital forms. Alper is the VP of Quality Assurance at Jotform, where he leads quality assurance strategy across all of their products, including manual testing, automation, and their dedicated accessibility team has spent the past 4 years deeply focused on accessibility. Whether you're creating permission slips, feedback forms, or registration forms for your school community, this conversation will change how you think about who can and cannot access what you're building. Let's jump into the conversation. Welcome to the podcast. I am very excited to chat with you today about how Jotform is making forms accessible for everyone. And before we get into all of that, can you share a bit with listeners? What is your role at Jotform? What does your day-to-day look like?
First of all, thanks for this opportunity. I'm always happy to talk about accessibility. My name is Alper Donmez. I am the Vice President of Quality Assurance at Jotform. So my role is mainly responsible about product quality. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we are looking for if our products are usable, if they're reliable, if they're accessible, and if they have high quality before they are just going live to our users.
Mm-hmm.
So me and my team, we are leading the QA strategies across to all of our products, and which includes the implementing new testing methodologies, automation strategies, and we are trying to improve the manual testing and also make sure that our release quality continues to improve and the product grows as well. Okay, so on a day-to-day basis, I have a meeting with QA teams, which we have three, like the manual testing team, automation team, and accessibility team. I work closely with them, and also I have a meeting with developers, product managers, sometimes designers or other stakeholders. So the big part of my work is working through on the bigger quality risks. Okay, because we need to foresee this and to identify them before they are happening. And so we also prioritize the big problems and if they are affecting the customers and making sure that the right teams are aligned with the solutions. Mm-hmm. So actually, this is my day-to-day tasks.
Yeah. So a lot of conversations, a lot of check-ins, a lot of people who are, I guess, sharing their perspectives and what they're seeing, and accessibility is such an important topic, and it's one that doesn't always get the attention it deserves when it comes to digital tools. So what does accessibility mean to the team at Jotform? Why has it been a priority?
Okay, yeah, actually, you are right about it. And accessibility is a new topic for me because I've been working in a quality section like 15 years, but accessibility
Mhm.
journey started with 4 years when I joined Jotform. Okay, so I'm always happy to learn about accessibility and talk about accessibility. So for us, accessibility means that making sure that everyone can use the digital products that we are building, okay, regardless of their abilities or the technology they use. Because Jotform is used by schools, universities, nonprofit organizations,
Mhm.
healthcare organizations, and also other businesses. And these teams, these organizations collect the information, very critical information through our forms.
Yeah.
Okay, like the registration, applications, feedback, like a maybe little surveys. So if there's any problem with the accessibility, then it can create a real barrier for someone. Okay, and we don't want this. So this is why accessibility is not only a technical requirement for us, but it's also a inclusion and a equal access for us. And also within the increasing of the regulations and
Mhm.
accessibility expectation all around the world, it has become even a bigger priority for us because many of our customers, they are serving in the education, healthcare, and government.
Mhm.
And so they need to meet standard like BCAC and other accessibility regulation. So our responsibility is like not like a provide a form builder to them. Our responsibility is like help our users that they create a digital forms which are more accessible. Okay.
Yeah, and just that idea that all the industries you support, like you mentioned, education, healthcare, right? They have so many different stakeholders who they're collecting information from, and they need to be able to get that information from the person. And you alluded to some of the regulations, right, or some of the things that have come along the way in terms of expectations for what accessibility looks like. So all components, right, of this, and no wonder it's such a priority, for you all. So, can you walk listeners through what Jotform has built to help create accessible forms? What does that experience look like for someone building a form?
Yeah. So actually, our main goal is to make the form building process simple.
Mhm.
Okay. So while we are also guiding our users towards better accessibility, because when someone create a form, they can use the form fields like the name, email, address, or drop downs, maybe file upload, and many others.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes, our our aim to like make sure all of this field support to accessibility best practices like proper labels. Proper labeling is very important, and
Mhm.
also keyboard navigation,
Yeah.
screen reader support, and also logical form structure. We are trying to have this in our like internal testing. So another important improvement is also for color contrast and also themes,
Mhm.
because Jotform is like a fond of the color themes and the visual side. So we have been working on a new 10 color contrast themes,
Nice.
like because they need to stay within the contrast ratios. We are not expecting our users to calculate the contrast ratios
Right.
themselves.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, because we are trying to help our users to create forms which are actually visually appeal and also easier to read and understand.
Mhm.
Right. So, and finally, we also provide an accessibility checker that helps
Yeah.
form creators to check if there is any accessibility issues while they are building their forms. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and then if there are potential issues, because we try to give them guidance directly inside the product. So the goal is to make accessibility is like more easier and more practical for the everyday users,
Mhm.
because we can't expect that all of our users know the all of the accessibility
Right.
technical guidelines and the rules, right?
Yeah.
So this is what these are our aims.
That's such a good point because, I would say for myself, right, as more of a generalist, right, in terms of my education work, I am not an accessibility expert. There's certain things I know about color contrast, like you mentioned, or other pieces, or alt text if I'm building out a blog post, but it's not my area of expertise. And I've played around with the accessibility checker, like you mentioned, and it's really powerful. And it also, I think, would open up someone's eyes to what it means, right, for a form to be accessible, like what to even look for. Yet, Jotform's accessibility checkers doing that heavy lifting, right, for someone who doesn't need to become an accessibility expert. So as you mentioned, right, it flags those issues. Can you share a couple of things? I know we talked about, a couple already, but can you share a couple of things that it catches that someone might not expect?
Okay, sure. Yeah, actually, before our new accessible checker, we had another scanner for accessibility, but this is like a very using the new technologies and new libraries that are used widely around the world. So the accessibility checker basically worked. It reviewed the forms and identified the issues if they affect any accessibility. So, for example, it can catch the labeling issues. Okay, if there's any missing or unclear labels for the fields, it can catch it, or missing alternative text for images, or like the color contrast. If there's any color contrast issues, accessibility checker can discover it. Or sometimes if we are talking about forms, there are some heading structure, okay? And if there is any incorrect heading structure, our accessibility checker also catches these issues as well. Or if there's a problem within the buttons or links, or there are required fields, if they are not clearly communicated, and some issues that if it's affecting the keyboard navigation, perhaps,
Yeah.
can also catch this as well. So what I like about this approach is like we are giving these common issues while the form creator is building the forms, okay? Because after sharing the forms, it will be very difficult for them to fix these issues, okay?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, and also checker is also makes accessibility is very practical, which is our aim. That because we can't expect that from our customers as well, and instead of asking every form creator to understand each accessibility rules or the guidelines, we are just giving them to this tool, so they can just check their forms and see the common issues that they have. Of course, this kind of tools cannot catch every issues, okay? But accessibility also needs manual testing, some like a real user feedback, and testing with assistive technologies, which we are doing internally, and also we are working with an accessibility vendor. But this checker is a very useful first layer. So it helps creator like to catch many common issues before sharing the forms.
Yeah, and just that idea that it really empowers someone who knows accessibility is so important, is creating something, right? And maybe is hesitant to make something because they know, right? They need something that, hits certain accessibility guidelines. Now they have this built-in tool, right? This support, right? And I found, as I was playing around with it, there were things I just wouldn't have thought of that now when I go to build another form, I'm like, oh, right, I need this, right? Or, so it's also like building some capacity, I think, for people who may not have that vocabulary, who may not understand the nuances of pieces, right? Now they're just better informed, right, for all the things that they're doing in digital spaces. Now, you mentioned about assistive technologies, and I want to ask you a little bit more about that. How does Jotform support users who rely on assistive technologies like screen readers or alternative input devices?
Okay. So first, we care a lot about the form fields and the labeling, because the labels need to be clear and properly connected to related fields. So it's like they're helping users to exactly what information is expected from the labels. Okay, it's very important for us, and we are giving this 100% for our customers that they can give any labeling system. But sometimes our user changing the label, okay, and they can create a problem with that. But as the labeling is very important, keyboard accessibility is also another important thing for us, because not everybody uses like a mouse or they are using the keyboard. So we are doing internal testing through the keyboards, okay, through the forms, because user can able to move through the keyboards and the arrows. Another important area is the error handling. For example, if there's any required field on the form And if you missed it, or if you just enter an incorrect value in it, our error mechanism just give a link to the field which is incorrect or missing.
Nice.
Okay, this is very important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because we need to do this. We also, like, for example, lately made a recent improvement on the signature field, which is mostly used one of the field that we are serving our customers. Before that, it was only have a draw option, but not everybody can use the mouse.
Yeah.
Okay, right now we enable the type option so that people can just write their names or like initials to it to just sign the form. Yeah, and so overall, actually, our focus is like making the form building is like easier for our customers and easier to complete the people using like a different assistive technologies like the keyboards, or maybe just they are using screen readers.
A quick note from the presenter of today's episode, Jotform. Jotform helps educators create online forms for student surveys, assignment submissions, quizzes, permission slips, and much more. Build your own form in minutes with Jotform's no-code form builder, or get a head start with thousands of free templates designed for teachers, schools, and districts. Educators can save up to 50% on eligible Jotform plans. Visit jotform.com/education to learn more. Yeah, and just that's really, it's interesting to think about both roles here, right? The person who's creating a form and all the support that they're getting, right, with that accessibility checker in particular. And then the person who is filling out that form and all the support that they're getting, right, when they're using an assistive technology, when they're using something that may be different than, a good chunk of the users filling out that form. There may be, 5, 10, 100 people, right, in a school or district community, right, who really need those extra support. So, thinking of, a school or district, for, a school or district who has accessibility on the mind, who's thinking about what this looks like across all of their digital communications, not just forms. What is a mindset shift, right, you'd encourage for them as they're tackling, right, the challenge of making sure everything is accessible, right, for their community?
Yeah, actually, it's just very important. And also in education, every digital communication matters, like a form, a PDF, like an announcement, maybe like a permission or feedback. So these are the main way like a student or a parent just interacts with the school. So the biggest mindset shift should be they need to stop thinking accessibility as a final checklist. Okay. They need to start this like a beginning of their process.
Yeah.
It should be the beginning. Okay. Because the question should not be can we fix accessibility later? Actually, it should be how can we fix it before we just release the forms or release the announcement. Okay. So I would encourage schools and districts to think accessibility is like a benefiting to everyone. Okay. Not for only the people with disabilities, because a clear language, like a good structure and readable design, the labeling system would help user with disabilities. Yeah, it helps user with disabilities, but it also help parents who don't like the technologies or who are trying to fill the forms through their mobile devices.
Right.
Okay, or maybe who are working in like a second language. Okay, we need to also think that. So accessibility is not only a compliance, but I think it's a better way of communication. So yeah, they need to start like this. How can we make this accessible before just sending it to the teachers or the parents, maybe, or the students? Okay.
Yeah, just leading with that, right? Having that mindset that this is how we start, right? Our process. We start with accessibility in mind. And what you shared about, the compliance component, right? Yes, of course, right? We want to be compliant, but that's not the only reason, right? To consider this, right? Having things that are easy to read, easy to consume, easy to fill out, right? Regardless of the device someone might use, right? You are supporting so many different people in your school and district community when you have, right, accessibility in mind, right? When you're leading with this as part of your creation process for, really all of the digital communication, forms included, right, is definitely a piece of it. So you mentioned a bit about the assistive technology components, right? Some of the work that's happening there with other devices. What's next for Jotform when it comes to accessibility? Are there new features or improvements on the horizon?
Yes. So accessibility is like an ongoing journey for us, okay?
Mhm.
Because it's not possible to because Jotform is growing, so we need to also check the accessibility while the Jotform is growing.
Yeah.
So right now, our main goal is to create the form builder process, and the form filling process is more accessible. And then, since Jotform has more products like Jotform Sign, Jotform Apps, AI, Smart PDF, we will also try to increase our accessibility level for the other products as well. And also, we will try to implement the accessibility checker for other builder products like this. For example, if you are building apps, we will also try to implement our new accessibility checker to this. Okay, then because user can also see the possible issues while they're creating other products as well. And also the second one is we are working on our BPAT repository. Right now we only have BPAT for the form site, but 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 in a while I think we will have another BPAT for other products as well, because this helps customer to see our transparency and also documentation, and they want to see the level of the accessibility for the other products as well.
Yeah.
Okay. For example, if they're aligned with the accessibility standards, so they will check this through our VPADs, and also we will be renewing our VPADs maybe like in a yearly basis. Okay, because we are also we are working with an external vendor, and we also signed our contract and extended a year. So we will be having our audits for different products. We will have a remediation and validation as well. So this will help us to see the issues systematically, and also we are learning from them. Okay, because they are like a cool guides to us.
Yeah.
Okay?
Mhm.
And also, so the I can say that short answer is like we are all build an internal accessibility team. We build an internal accessibility team, which is also they're testing our products and the features internally. We are going through audits, validations, and we are trying to increase our accessibility automated checks. Okay. And so, and also accessibility would be like being considered across different products in Jotform as well. So this is what is next for us when we talk about accessibility, but maybe more,
Yeah.
because sometimes it depends on the regulations as well. Right now, it's like a VCAC 2.1. Maybe they will say that it's VCAC 2.2.
Right.
Then we need to deliver this as well.
Yeah. And just, I mean, it's a lot of pieces, right? And a lot of things you mentioned, right, on the horizon. Part of that being, meeting the compliance, but also making sure things are streamlined, right, for a user, right, who has had great success, say with the accessibility checker in one part, right, of their work, I'm sure is craving it, right, to pop up in other areas too. So, we've talked about a few different things today that educators might keep in mind, right, as part of their planning, some of their mindset shift, some of the things they could open up and try out, today with Jotform's accessibility checker. For an educator who's listening, who wants to make their forms more accessible, starting today, what's the first thing you'd recommend they do?
I think the first thing I would recommend, they need to start by reviewing the form from the form filler's perspective. Okay. So they need to ask these questions to themselves. Are the questions are clear? Okay. Are the labels understandable? For example, can someone fill this form without a confusion? If it's the form easy to follow. And also then after asking this question, they can just start using our accessibility checker
Yeah.
to see if there are any other issues on their forms. Okay. So I would also recommend them to keep the form simple. because avoiding the unnecessary fields is important. Using the clear section titles, and they do not rely on the color. Okay, because visual forms are great, but they need to consider the contrast issues as well, and making sure that the required fields are defined clearly. Okay, so if they are explained, they should be clearly explained. And also, like for example, we are doing this while we are testing a new feature or a new field. We are trying to fill the form with just the keyboard. Okay, we are trying to reach every field on the form with the keyboard. Because if you cannot move through the keyboard, then someone else also have a problem with going through the keyboard. Okay, yeah, I think these are some recommendations that I can give right now. Yeah, I think that's all.
I know, and just that idea of being super clear, knowing your intention, right? Reviewing with your audience, right? Or who you're sending this to, right? In mind. And I love that extra piece about, the keyboard, right? If you can go through this with the keyboard, if you've really made sure your sections, right, are clear, that what people are asking for is clear, right? You're then in a great place to try out the accessibility checker and have something to send out, to your group. So this has been such a fantastic conversation on accessibility in general, what people should consider with form creation, what Jotform is doing here in this space. For anyone who wants to learn more, who's curious about this topic, where can people connect with you? Where can they learn more about your work?
Okay, so my name is Alper Donmez, and people can connect me through my LinkedIn. Okay, I'm always happy to meet with the people who are interested in quality and accessibility. And for the other accessibility related questions and information, if they are looking for, they can just send an email to accessibility@jotform.com. Our team can be reached out through this email. We can always give a response to this, and be love to give a response to this audience or the customers or the users for accessibility related questions.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time, for sharing all of these great strategies and really actionable information with listeners today.
You're welcome.
This was such a fun and important conversation, and I want to finish up like we always do with a few key points to make this EdTech easy. Stop thinking of accessibility as a final checklist and start making it the beginning of your creation process. Use Jotform's built-in accessibility checker to catch common issues like missing labels, color contrast problems, and heading structure errors while you build. Keep forms simple by using clear labels, section titles, and only the fields you truly need. Remember that accessibility benefits everyone, including parents who aren't comfortable with technology, mobile users, and people working in a second language. You can find the show notes and the full list of resources from today's episode, including all of the ways to connect with the team at Jotform, by heading to easyedtechpodcast.com. A big thank you to Jotform, the presenter of today's episode and this special series. If you want to watch the video version of this episode, you can find it exclusively on Jotform's YouTube network. Just head to YouTube and type Jotform into the search bar. To learn more about Jotform and how educators may qualify for discounts of up to 50%, head to jotform.com/education. If you're listening to this podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or maybe another favorite app, don't forget to hit the follow button. When you follow along with the podcast, each new episode will download for you automatically so you don't miss a thing. And if you have a moment and are feeling extra helpful today, please leave a rating or review for the podcast. It helps other educators find this podcast when they're searching for topics like EdTech in their podcast app. Have a great week and check back on Tuesday morning for another new episode of the Easy EdTech podcast.